Hello, and welcome to the ATF cast. That is anything that fires. Here to discuss science, firearms, the day-to-day, and, whether you'd like it or not, we sure don't, politics. The bounds are unscribed, the beliefs full of dis, and the bifocals simply unacceptable. We are a pinch of lava and a heaping cup of I don't know what the fuck is going on. So, join us on this journey of nonsense, and an attempt to learn more, while we do our best to put on a smiling face, keep our eyes upon the moon, and ride the waves of entropy in this ever-changing world. We are the ATF cast, and we're just having fun. I'm your host, Evan, and as always, I am joined by your turbulent co-host, Matt Halava. How you do today, Pops?
I'm doing quite well today, Sonny Boy. And yourself?
Quite well. Welcome to episode 10. I know that may confuse some of you, being that we just did episode 11 or 12 or what have you. Things get confusing.
Episode 10, part 2.
Absolutely. Episode 10, Redux. When we last had FlyingRich Official on, we had a plethora of connectivity issues. I was doing a fair bit of partying down in Louisville, Kentucky, and was trying to get the best internet connection possible while in the basement of a recording studio / house of my beautiful sister. And it just so seems that the internet down in Louisville did not want me to hear anybody or see anybody. And so we were scheduled to do a little bit of a revamp, and so that is today. And if you could all please welcome our wonderful guest, FlyingRich Official. How you doing today,
thanks for having me on, guys.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah. And I keep looking at your background. I'm like, I should have taken a picture of the CMMG booth.
Right? That's awesome.
I'm like, I knew exactly what that picture was from.
Yeah,
you were there.
I was pretty excited when I got all the images downloaded from the Georgia Adventure and everything, and I was like, wow, this picture of this brass would make a perfect image for the background of the podcast. So
I'm shocked that there was that much brass there. I figured it'd be all steel case.
Yeah, and this is actually also early in the weekend, so if I had captured some photos, a little later, it'd be much more impressive, but here we are anyway.
So for the people that don't know, CMMG brought their Mutant, which is like an AR, but it takes AK mags. It's 7.62 by 39. And anybody that wanted could just walk up and do a full auto mag dump. And some of us did more than one.
That was actually the first full auto firearm, if I remember correctly, that I ever shot. And that was a couple years ago at the first 88 range day that we had the opportunity to join. And it changed my life for the better. Absolutely.
Yeah, it took about 2 weeks for him to stop smiling. The very few years when he fired it for the first time, and just like, yeah, it was awesome. It was fun to watch.
So I this last IV 8888 was the most fun I've had for me personally, because I went with a bunch of people. I knew more people. People knew me. So, it was just a stinkload of fun.
Yeah, because the first time we met was at the IV88 range day. I forget the name of the range that was at. It was
Arena Training Facility.
Yeah. And the rain training facility. But yeah, we stood in the parking lot chit-chatting and everything and just talking while it's raining, and yeah, it was a good time. It was good to meet you then, and it was nice seeing you again, because then I was like, hey, I know that guy. We've talked
right.
So
my boots came apart. There was so much rain.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, to your point, it being your most fun year, this one that we just had, being that you knew more people, that was very much our experience, because we're like, we saw more familiar faces and we're more comfortable with a lot of people that we did see. So it was just like, okay, I kind of feel at home now. And like our first year, we were just kind of stuttering around, like, am I allowed to shoot that? Is it cool?
Right?
Can I touch that?
Right. Yeah, you're like, okay, I'm not sued.
Give me one of those.
Here, can I touch? Yeah. Like, hey, I'm back. Give me that.
Yeah. So Swampy says he's bringing the RV in October. I'm hoping to make the October event. I've got another event the weekend after I'm already scheduled to do in Texas, so I'm taking a long weekend for that, and I would need to take a long weekend to do the Iraq Veteran. So I'm going to see if I can make it happen.
Nice.
Well, it'd be great to see you there. I'm definitely going to be there. I already had told all of the supervisory positions at my work that I will not be there for sure that weekend, and they just did some changes around as far as vacation time goes. So somehow I lucked into having an additional 10 hours of vacation time for this year. So I'm going to utilize that
cool.
and get paid to shoot guns. So
right.
how can one complain?
Yep. Yeah, that was it was a stink load of fun, and like you talk about smiling for weeks. It's like for weeks after, and still today, I'll think about that day, and I just get a big smile on my face. A lot of fun. Just really, really needed that.
Absolutely, it was very much it was a much needed break from the whole 2020 chaos of everything.
For sure.
So yeah, just unloading some gunpowder and seeing some friendly faces and shaking hands and just the whole 9 yards. It was a beautiful weekend. So looking forward to the next
9 yards at 100 yards, whatever. It was a good time.
Absolutely. Flying Rich, I know one thing we didn't get into last time that we spoke, best that I can recall, is your namesake. How exactly did you choose your name? I know the Flying Rich holds a lot of value, the flying portion, as far as your career and hobbies go. So if you could elaborate on that and tell the audience how that came to be.
Flying is a hobby, not a career. I'm an instrument rated pilot. I have 1,000 hours, like 600 in Canards, 400 in Cessnas. I guess it went back to I was doing a podcast. I was a guest on a podcast. Now I'm a regular contributor. So it's the Linux Link Tech Show, or they call it TILTS, TLLTS, which is every Wednesday night at 8:30. And they're like, "Hey, what name do you want to use?" I think I first used it on Twitter. Flying Rich. And I'm like, Flying Rich, and boom. So that's been it for my social media ever since.
Nice.
So how did you get into the flying of planes in the first place?
Okay, so I've always wanted to fly. Ever since I can remember, I always wanted to learn how to fly. I've had friends that had planes and flew, and I'd fly with them. And my dad took a couple of lessons. I don't know how many lessons he took, but he had friends that flew. Like my first flying event, I think, was in a Cessna 172. I don't know if he owned the plane. The guy's name was Ray Liberday. He was a friend of my father's, and they knew each other through the printing industry. And this is on Long Island. I think we flew out of Republic Airport. We flew over Shelter Island and turned around and came back. Just like an hour flight for something. At that time. It really wasn't until I guess it's somewhere after 2000 that I was sitting in the office talking. It was a Friday, and I'm like, I always want to learn how to fly. And one of the guys said, "So why don't you?" And I'm like, I broke open the browser, looked up on Alta Vista flight schools, and booked a lesson for 9 a.m. Saturday morning. And that's finally, sometimes it just takes somebody to speak the words, or you to speak the words, and it's like, well, why don't I? And I did it. Because I'm just looking for my pilot's license here for what year. Now, I probably was flying. This is my drone license, because I drone on. Oh, man, I can't read that one. So it was July 2005. I got my license, so the private pilot license. Or I should say certificate, because the word police will get mad if I don't say certificate. It's not a license; it's a certificate. I was probably got signed off to solo more than a year before that, and it was just good enough for me to solo around. But when I did my work for my instrument rating, I made sure I had my tests, the written test done, and that was the only thing holding me back on my private pilot was the written test. I didn't have the studying done for it. And so I front loaded that for the instrument rating. And so when I was good to go skill wise, I had the written test done. There's a practical and oral portion of each flight exam.
How
As
long
far
did
as
like time frame? How long did it take you to from start to certificate?
A couple of years, and I'd have to break out my logbook. I'm like, yeah, I think it's in a case over there. And because you can get signed off to take your test after 60 hours of instruction. So I wasn't a quick learner as far as that goes. It took me a while to get the landings just right. There was a
Which is
period of
rather
time where well, I always joke that I think in Bridgeport, Connecticut, there's still dents in the runway from me practicing. And my instructor owned and loved that plane, and I have no idea why he didn't just like reach over and like grab my neck each time he saw me coming in for a landing. So, I eventually conquered that beast. I have I don't think I have really great depth perception. I was looking out the window for my altitude. And realistically, the big difference for me is when I looked straight down the runway to the end of the runway, and when it seemed like you're a car driving down the road, that's when you flare. And that's how I figured it out.
Through the learning process, what was your favorite aspect about learning the in and outs of flying a flying craft?
The theme in my life is kind of like renewal of life through near-death experience. So I think it's a challenge, and I think the flying isn't necessarily hard. Any one of you, we could go up in a plane and you can fly it. Not a big deal. There's just a couple of things don't do wrong, and if you're flying straight and level, it's really pretty simple. The other aspects are communication and navigation, and each of them, when I started flying, we didn't have, and not like early 2000s was ancient history, but you had a GPS in the plane, but it was not anything like what a GPS is today.
Right.
And the navigation and communication equipment wasn't as connected as it is today. Like, now it used to be you would have a navigation log, you would have a communication log. So you knew as you planned a flight, like what frequencies you'd be tuning in. You'd have them all written out. You'd have them preloaded in the radio. So typically you have an active and a standby frequency in a radio, both for navigation and communication, and typically you have 2 nav comms. So you would have 4 frequencies you could pre-program for communication. And if you're a good pilot when you're on the ground, you have them already loaded, before you're rolling. So the concept that they talk about in aviation is being ahead of the airplane. And that gets more and more important when you fly a faster and faster airplane. You always want to be 50 to 100 nautical miles ahead of the airplane in your thought process. Like, hey, what's the next frequency? What's the next altitude? What's the next, setting? Am I going to have to back off on the throttle, change the mixture, lower the flaps, lower the landing gear? What's the sequence of events that you're going to be needing to do? Last thing you want to do when you're flying is to have a surprise.
Right. Yeah, I wouldn't want a surprise if I was flying. It's kind of like watching some people on the highway. They are just traveling, and then they shoot across 4 lanes to get off their exit. They should have been thinking about that a few miles back, right? So
right.
You have to be thinking forward, and that's something I didn't really think about for pilots. Imagine what an A-10 pilot needs to do, trying to figure out how to throttle coming over and banking and then firing. And
now that's crazy. See, air-to-air combat or air-to-ground combat, I mean, that's a whole freaking another level. I mean, you got to fly the damn plane. So, all right, one of the problems with aircraft is most aircraft have what's called a VNE, velocity never to exceed, because the structure isn't designed to be in one piece after that speed. So a Cessna's VNE is not much more than its top speed, like a Cessna 152, 172. It's usually, I think it's like 125 miles an hour. I mean, my plane doesn't even start flying until 90 miles an hour. So even though I have a Cessna engine in my plane, the flight envelope on my plane has very little overlap with the flight envelope of a Cessna. So at the last 10 miles an hour of the top speed of a Cessna, that's when my plane starts flying. And likewise, altitude-wise, I think you're stretching it in a 152 or 172 to get to 12,000 feet. Somebody had one of my similar design to my plane up to 50,000 feet, and that's non-turbocharged. So there's, big difference in the performance characteristics on the plane.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot to think about. I know basically anytime you mention flying, or I'm sure you see it, but anytime I mention flying, or the desire to, everybody gets excited about. Like, everybody has this little inward dream of being able to fly a plane or something. Do you have a piece of advice for somebody that is at that stage in life that you were before someone said, "Why don't you?"
Sure. Okay. Great question. So, one thing is, if you don't have a lot of money to continuously pay for it, save up your money first. Don't save up, have a lesson, save up, have another lesson weeks later. Make sure you have the money, work it out with a flight school, figure out what you're going to need, and because you're going to save money in the long run if you don't space it out. If you do 3 lessons a week, or maybe 2 lessons a week, you're going to be better than if you do 2 lessons a month. You're going to get through the process quicker. There's also cheaper ways of doing it. So if you join something like the Civil Air Patrol or Coast Guard Auxiliary, you can get seat time with other pilots. So even though maybe if you're lucky, you might get seat time with an instructor, and he'll just sign your logbook for you, and it won't cost you a dime. So you might be able to do something like that. Nowadays you have stuff like live ATC, so you can listen to the air traffic control. So last time I was in the air in February, I didn't work the radios. My flight instructor worked the radios, and it was because I haven't done it in 6 years. It was a little bit of a oh my gosh, I wasn't snap Johnny on the block with the communication. I heard it, and it took me a little bit to process, as opposed to having an immediate response back to it. So that was a little bit of a culture shock to me. I'm like, wow, I can fly the plane. I have the skills to fly the plane, but the whole communication portion of it is something I'm not up to speed on. So live ATC is good for that. You can listen to air traffic control. You have the ATIS, you have clearance, ground, tower, departure. So there's 5 different types of things. You have 5 different types of things, your sets you're going to be communicating to specific people. So being able to listen to that on the internet for free, that's fantastic. And it's funny, Richard Monder from England, he's always sending me, he's watching the California fires on FlightAware, and he's telling me what planes are in the air and where they're refueling and stuff like that. It's very cool. So you have a lot more ability now than you did, pre-internet saturation to learn things. So that's very cool.
That is very cool. Yeah, I that was something I didn't think about, because like you said, you're communicating on several levels with several people or whatever, different,
right,
and here and here. It would be good to always hear that, so that the jargon's fresh in your head.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Also, what is it? I met the guy that wrote the software. There's a really good. It's X-Plane. Let's see. I think it's X-Plane. And there's actually so it's x-plane.com, and there's actually people that are air traffic controllers, and they'll work the ATC on X-Plane, so you get a very realistic experience. Oh. So when I was working on my instrument rating, I just beat the crap out of X-Plane I would turn up turbulence, zero visibility. I would set all the settings to extreme, and I would practice landing in a Cessna 172 at ISUP MacArthur Airport in New York, because that's where I was going to be taking my test. So I just kept drilling that. So there are a lot of tools available to you to get you better. Why does Dad not have lava lamps yet? All right, so
yeah. So at some point, I have to decorate with lava lamps. I just don't have them yet. I'll have to put them on order. So.
Yeah, so as far as someone that wants to get into the piloting experience, you're saying basically just immerse yourself in the jargon and reach out. And did you say it was called X-Plane?
X-Plane, yeah, it's x-plane.com. Really good software. You could do multi-monitor with it. I haven't used it in years, but I probably need to get back, like listen to live ATC, so I get all the jargon going in my head again.
Just listen to that while you're driving to work.
I don't drive to work. This is where I work.
Never mind. When you're driving to the market to pick up some food, right?
Yeah, I'm back into. So last we talked, I was at the Northern Command. I'm back at FRAS, the FlyingRich Autonomous Zone, also known as the Southern Command. We are a Second Amendment sanctuary here. And so my life during the week pretty much is I don't leave the house. I don't leave the property. So I get a 90-minute lunch, and I've been building a 3D printer yesterday and today. I'm almost done with it.
On your Instagram.
Yes. Okay, you saw that.
Yeah.
So my daughter's at college, so I threw a table in a room so I could set up in a area and put a 3D printer. And realistically, I'd love to run. I don't want to run the 3D printers in my office because I don't like the noise, a little bit of smell. I want to set up a print farm. I might set it up in the garage, but if my daughter's not going to be back from college for a while, I might just set them up in her room.
Yeah.
Because then I don't have to worry about the filament absorbing water.
Yep. And it also takes hours to do it. A lot of times you think, I'm just going to make this real quick. 7 hours remaining. Well, I'll go to bed. Right? Yeah. Some of that stuff takes time.
So do you guys 3D print at all, or are you just...
Just dabbling and learning about it through work. And then we're also starting to try to figure out CNC machines to do some different things and stuff at work. So, yeah.
Did I show you some black plastic at Iraq Veteran? I didn't. All right, I didn't show it to you. So I was informed that I could go public with a project I've been working on. I'm just the print monkey. I didn't do any of the design work. I might do some modification work on it. But Control Pugh and his guys designed a bullpup Glock, and it's got a Glock 34 slide, and I've printed out some parts for it. I gotta do a couple of modifications on it still. I'm waiting for parts to come in to complete it. But there's a 3D printable bullpup Glock design out there.
Well, that excites me pretty extensively.
Looks like I have to buy another Glock. Glock 34?
Yeah, it's a Glock 34 with Glock 17 rails.
Nice.
See, a 3D printer is something that's been on my list for my next hobby to delve into and spend way too much money on. So,
not really. There was a sale, and I think you can get an Ender 3 on Amazon pretty damn cheap right now. I think I got mine for like 165 recently, like 6 months ago. That's the one that's been in the box in my office for like 6 months.
Okay.
So I kind of impulse bought another Ender 3. So I have a total of 3 3D printers.
Now,
I haven't.
How big's your workspace?
The Ender 3, I think it's like 220 by 220 by 240.
Okay.
That's millimeters.
Yep.
I know it's a little larger than the ANET A8, and I have Octopi set up for all my printers, so they act as print servers over the internet, and they have webcams that monitor them. And I have an AI on my ESXi cluster called Spaghetti Detective, and it watches the print to make sure it's printing correctly.
Spaghetti Detective. Is that because of the filament? You don't want
yes,
a big
when you'll
spaghetti?
have various different types of failures, and one failure is like it's just printing filament in space, and it's just spaghetti.
Right. Gotcha. And there's so many different filaments and stuff too. Like you can get glow in the dark filaments and whatever colors you want, and it's pretty interesting stuff. I think Evan would enjoy getting into it. I will enjoy it. But
I don't know if I got it. Yeah, I got a Mantis, and nice. I got a Mantis. Yeah, here it is. And the Mantis system doesn't mount to the SIG P365 rail under the barrel because it's not a standard PIC rail.
They have proprietary rail.
I'll be fixing that in the future. Somebody has a printable 365 grip that I hope to get my hands on soon. But what I did print is a base plate. Yeah, I don't have any of the samples around here. But I printed a base plate. I designed it myself. But again, I took somebody else's base plate. I took somebody else's PIC rail, put it together, got the angle right because it wants to be parallel to the barrel, and put it on the bottom of the magazine. So it works fine there. And the Mantis system, this thing is like $250. I do have a affiliate link. If you go to my website, so youtube.com/FlyingRich, my YouTube channel, look up the Mantis unboxing video, and there's an affiliate link there. So if you don't mind helping me out.
No problem. Mantis is really neat. Firing that at the IV88, that was the first time I actually had some trigger time on it. And
yes. That's what sold me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a fantastic training tool.
So I shot it, and I was like, I shot a group of 5, and then I looked at, because it gives you a video and text on what you did wrong, and so it's like, all right, you're squeezing your grip as you're pulling the trigger. So it's like my next batch of 5 was like 20% better. I was like, holy cow, that's amazing.
Right.
So what sucks, and it works live fire also. So you can do dry fire and live fire. You can do left-handed, right-handed. It works for everything. So it's pretty fantastic. The bad part is when you see what you're doing wrong and you think you're correcting for it and you don't, because it's like the worst coach in the world. It's like you're still doing it wrong, and I'm like, but I'm not pulling. So it can be because it's absolutely accurate. It's like the worst coach in the world. It's like, no, really, it knows what you did wrong.
Yeah. It'd be like Mary Lou Retton just looking at me do a backflip and say, nope, that wasn't very good. I'm like, well, how do I fix it? So,
yeah. It's pretty brutal. It's brutally honest. It very effective.
Yeah, that and the CO2, the cold fire, or whatever they're calling it.
Yes, that was cool.
Yeah, that in combination, that whole kit together is something that would just really change my life as far as dry firing goes. And with ammo is maybe improving a little bit, but not getting out to the range.
Yeah, but still, the ability. What my wife and I, we had one of these laser systems. What is it? Dan Bongino was pimping them for a while. Why can't I think of the name? I Target.
Yeah.
And it got to the point I didn't like how the app worked, and we would just, have a target on the wall, and you have the laser round in the chamber, and we're just watching where we hit, as opposed to using the app, because the app you had to reset all the time. So we would sit back if we're watching TV or a movie. We'll break out, a laser round, throw it in one of our guns, and just practice. And I haven't got her on the Mantis yet, but I got to do that.
She's gonna love it and love you for it.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's a good way to watch an action movie. A little bit of dry fire.
You're watching John
lasers.
Wick,
Right.
Is there anything else out of the IV-88 experience this year that really grabbed your attention aside from the Mantis and your, showing everybody your 3D printed ventures and everything?
So, it's kind of interesting. Every time I go to the Iraq veteran shoot, I'll watch other people's videos on the event, and I'm like, I didn't shoot that. In what? So the remarkable thing. All right, so mean arms with the ball bearing delayed blowback. That was very cool.
Mm-hmm.
That was a cool setup.
Yep.
So I'd love to get my hands on that to do A/B comparison. So that's something I'm very interested in. The other thing that I'm always shocked at is the stuff that I just walked right by. And I was at the Century Arms table. I shot a number of firearms there. I got the T-shirt that says "I love AP5." That's their version of the MP5. I did not pick up the MP5 and shoot it. I'm like, what is wrong with me?
And all you got was a T-shirt.
And all I got, right? But I don't know if you've seen it. I think I posted on Instagram. Tipman Arms, they had a full auto 22, and they're shooting clays, and you got to shoot clays with a 22.
Yeah,
did you guys
try to shoot clays with a 22? I didn't succeed at it.
And thanks to the magic of editing, the second try, factually, I did a mag dump, and the guy's like, just do a burst.
Yeah.
The second try, I got the clay. The next 9 tries, didn't get it. But the second try, I smoked the clay. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah, because we tried, both of us tried that one, the rain year. I tried
the Mudfest.
Yes, the Mudfest, but the guy there wasn't like, hey, just like 3 or 5 round bursts, right? Just try just try to smack it. Try to get like a buckshot out at it,
Yeah.
And but it's still fun.
Oh my god, yeah. Yeah. How much fun?
Laugh every time I miss.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, that was a good time.
Yeah. Actually, Swampy was my video guy, and he actually caught me dusting the clay, so he did get it.
Nice.
Congrats, Swampy. Nice camera.
The PSL, I did shoot the PSL from Century Arms. Shooting Girl New England's mentioned that, and actually we're missing two of the main squadron members. So I don't know if you saw the Hank Strange video, but Hank and John said I rolled in heavy and deep with my own entourage, and so Hank coined it that I had a whole squadron. So there's a squadron T-shirt now on Black Swan Tactical. So I see a couple of the squadron members here.
Welcome, squadron. That's awesome.
I'll have to go get a T-shirt.
Yeah. All the money goes to charity. I'm not getting a damn dime.
Good.
Which, what the heck?
I wouldn't expect anything less from you.
Thanks. So my goal this year is sell the house in New York, get the damn plane fixed, get a safety harbor 50 cal, throw it in my plane, and go visit as many people in a weekend as I can and go shooting with them.
I like how you said in the plane, not like mount it on the plane and go visit some people.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah.
What are the regulations on that? Because my plane, the engine's in the back, and they have baggage pods on the plane that look like bombs. And I've been wanting to put baggage pods on my plane, and get a digi trigger or something like that.
And look out the side and see a couple of F-15s just checking you out. You're like, whoo, just baggage, buddy.
I always wanted to get the baggage pods on the plane because they look like, the rocket pods like on a Cobra helicopter.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to paint just the front of them so it looks like a rocket pod. But I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not.
that might be too much trouble.
While it's on the ground, have like a cover, like a Jeep tire cover or something, just a tire, or a cover for the pod. So
right.
But once you take off, you might not want that.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing from you next on the nightly news. Like,
yeah, it wouldn't be the first time.
What is back to the flight thing for a second, just because I'm so fascinated with planes and everything. What's we kind of talked about the training and the best aspect of that and the advice, but you personally, what's the best thing about getting in the sky and going on an adventure?
Wow. All right. A couple of trips, dude. All right. So I did all my flying on Long Island. And Long Island is a great place to fly. A lot of weekend warriors. So in the first 10 years, I got like 1,000 hours of flying time in. I was flying like 150 hours a year when I first started. I was just like nutso about it. The cool thing is you can get to Montauk, you can get to the Hamptons, you can get to Block Island, Nantucket, Martha's Vineyard in under an hour, depending if you're flying my plane. My plane, all of those are under an hour. If I wanted to go from Islip, Long Island to Nantucket or Martha's Vineyard, that's like a 2-day trip. It's because you're going to spend a whole day just getting there. It's also my dad. He was living out by Harrisburg in Hershey, and I would be able to fly into Harrisburg International. It's a 4-hour drive each way, and it's like, what was it, under 2 hours in my plane? Like an hour and a half.
Nice.
So like I would get up in the morning, like a Saturday morning or something like that. And I would fly over to Westerly, Rhode Island, which is like the opposite end of Long Island. I'd fly east, get cheap gas at Westerly, and then fly to Harrisburg, see my dad, have lunch with him, and then fly home, have dinner. And when I was single, doing a loop around Manhattan at sunset, it was always a great date. That was
very romantic.
But the great thing that aviation does for you. So a couple of things. First off, when I learned how to fly, I was working at a job where like I was there 5 years and I just got the 3rd week of vacation. I was like, well, if you can fly your own plane, you can make the best out of your weekend if you want to travel. After that, I got a job at all New York hospitals give you 6 weeks of vacation.
That must be horrible.
So, yeah. So all of a sudden, basically, I had 5 people on my team, and I could have, based on the number of hours they could take off, I could have 1 person out every day of the week. So it was, when you have 6 weeks vacation, you don't even think about how much time you have. It's like, oh my gosh, do I have enough hours to take off? Like if I want to go to RAC Veteran and, take Friday before off, it's like, no, you just take the time, like, yeah, I'm taking the time off. There's another couple of cool layers. First off, it's almost never cheaper to fly your own plane. Even my plane that's super efficient, it's almost never cheaper. But instead of, like, I live in Palm Beach. I live on the north edge of Palm Beach County. And West Palm Beach Airport, or Palm Beach International, is like the closest airport to me, and it's a great airport to fly out of. But if I want to go to St. Louis, I'm better off driving, instead of 30 minutes to West Palm Beach, I'm better off driving an hour to Fort Lauderdale because I can get a direct flight to St. Louis.
Okay.
And so there's issues with that. So the cool thing about flying your own plane is there's an airport, like straight line, like 15 miles from my house. When I get my airplane put back together, I'll have it over here at North County in Palm Beach.
Okay.
And you can fly your plane to precisely the airport you want to go to. So in October, I'm going to be driving to Fort Lauderdale to get a plane to fly into Dallas Love Field, and then I'll rent a car, drive an hour to Gainesville, Texas, where I'm going to be doing some training.
Okay.
So instead of doing that, I could get in the plane around the corner here, or I could drive my car next to my plane on the ramp, take all of my guns and ammo and put it in the plane, and nobody's checking me.
Right.
And fly with a loaded gun in my pocket, lordy, and full-size shaving cream. And not in my pocket, but and land at a damn airport that's 10 minutes away from where I want to be.
Right.
As opposed to landing at an airport an hour away from where you want to be.
Having to go to baggage claim, get your stuff.
Oh, no, yeah, none of that.
None of that. Go stand in line. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, forget. Oh, and don't get me wrong. I try to, I can't stand security theater. The TSA, they were delivering pizza yesterday. Don't tell me they know what's going on. They don't. They have no clue. When 90+% of all the test bombs get through TSA,
yeah,
it also, I want to put a giant black dildo in my carry-on bag. I want to have the biggest black dildo in my carry-on bag.
I figured you for purple.
Purple? Maybe black with a purple stripe. Just because I am so freaking sick of, I had this in St. Louis. I was doing a contract. I did 2 contracts at St. Louis. And I'm coming back. I would fly out either Sunday night or Monday morning, and I'd fly back Friday morning or something like that. And I'm flying back, and this guy's ripping apart my carry-on bag. Now, as an IT consultant, they didn't let you do a checked bag. You'd have to pay for that yourself. So I've got to have, a business laptop, a personal laptop, a week's worth of, business casual, so collared shirts and slacks and shoes,
right,
in a carry-on bag. So that thing, it's packed. So the guy pulls it all apart and doesn't put it back together. He got frustrated because I had it, totally tightly packed, right, and walks away. I'm like, oh, hey, look over there. It's Osama bin Laden. Watch out. You better get him. He's going to blow it. I'm like, you bastard. You took it apart. You put it back together. Don't,
Not many people can take apart something and put it back together the way it's supposed to, though.
Yeah,
there's a lucky few who can, but
right.
It's like you get home and you pull something out of the package and it doesn't work, so you have to take it back to the store. Mm-hmm. How the hell they get that in there?
Yeah, I'm good at that.
It takes me an extra beer sometimes.
Or the of course you do the unboxing video, then you know exactly how it goes back together.
Yeah, you just run it in reverse.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
Man, what kind of YouTubers are you guys? Jeez.
I'm honest YouTuber, so sometimes I forget to take pictures of things.
Right. So I've got a whole bunch of wrong window. Where is the other? Is it there? There it is. So I want to break my content out because I'm probably the world's worst YouTuber. One, I spend more hours a week on other people's channels. Not that I don't like it, but I got to do something on my own channel once in a while. Mm-hmm. But I'm probably going to be breaking out my cars and airplanes and vehicles into another channel.
Nice.
Because on my list, I got to do a battery replacement on my Genesis, air filter, oil change, oil filter. Ooh, all 4 rotors and pads got to go on the Genesis. Oil change on the Envoy, air filter on the Envoy. I'm getting a 5G home router from Verizon. I got to do an install on that.
You should dress like Collins when you do the Genesis video.
And let's see, trailer hitch on the Lexus, tire rotation on the Lexus, and finish the Ender 3 build. So that's on my hit list this week. So
you're going to be busy.
Yeah, I'm trying to knock this crap out because I was away from home for 3 weeks, and the pool was turning green. I had to, clean out the calcium in the chlorine generator, the sink, double sink. One of the drains broke, and I had to, do the plumbing on it.
Yeah, life happened.
Yep.
There's adult responsibilities.
Indeed. So. Yeah, well, you guys know what it's like, right?
Yeah.
Leaving home, you come back, and all of a sudden, it's like, whoops. And forget my dragon fruit garden. You know, that's a whole freaking mess.
You have a dragon fruit garden?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got like a dozen different species of dragon fruit, and I do a whole bunch of.
Much.
What's that?
I didn't realize you had so much dragon fruit. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I do grafting, so I not only do it with the dragon fruit, but I do it like very technical. So if you have a common species like in South Florida here, hey, 2A EDU. Did you guys meet 2A EDU at Iraq Veteran?
I'd have to see a face.
Oh yeah,
yeah, probably, but like names, I'm not always great with, but I will never forget somebody's face.
Yeah, super nice guy. Just he's from Michigan.
Okay,
and I should have hooked up. I did a 6-month contract in Michigan 2 years ago, almost 3 years now, and I should have like hooked up with him. But I'm probably going to be going back to Michigan because my plane is in Minnesota, and I'm probably going to move it to a hangar in Michigan since I can be remote anywhere on the planet. And a buddy of mine has hangar space. He's like, hey, move it in my hangar and put it together there. So I might just do that.
Nice.
So I may be in Michigan, maybe not this year. Depends on how quick my house sells and all that kind of stuff. But
yeah,
which I think there's an open house this weekend. So another thing, I'm totally amped up on finally getting out of the debt that I've accrued. Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I bought this place, a couple of things happened. Swampy thought 2A EDU was Alaskan Ballistics.
Yeah.
2A EDU is blonde. How do you miss? Anyhow, Chuck looks a lot different.
Okay.
So
yes, we met.
Well, I joked. Everybody all the white guys at Iraq Veteran all looked alike. They all had the tactical beard and mustache, sunglasses, and ball cap. I could recognize one from the other. It's like, nah.
Yeah, that's why I don't go with the goatee. I go with the Van Dyke to to just differentiate myself just enough.
Yeah, I mean I would. I don't have a full enough. Like, don't get me wrong, it grows like mad on the face here, but it's just never. I look Hasidic Jew. I don't look tactical, you know.
Yeah, I shaved Saturday, so it grows slow.
Oh no, it's like I could shave 2-3 times a day.
Yeah, a buddy of mine I was in the Marines with, he would shave in the morning, and he'd have this by noon.
Oh, absolutely.
He didn't have a 5 o'clock shadow. He had a 5 o'clock going on beard. You know, it was just like, oh my Lord.
Yeah, I've been working on this for like years. You just trim it up to get the scragglies out of the way. But yeah, this is a lot of hard work right here. I can't grow a beard in a couple of days like some of these guys.
You actually grow more beard than I can.
Well, I was accidentally muted, but when you're saying you grow this out so you can look different, I was saying I think it's more a matter of the inability to grow out anything beyond that.
He's challenging your follicle authority.
That's fine. I'll jokingly say that he gets the facial hair from his mother.
Ouch!
Right? I mean,
ouch!
We live hours away, so I don't think she's going to hit me.
Yeah, no, this might be the one episode she watches all the way.
It's not an honest. It's not an honest statement. That's just in jest.
I'll let her know exactly what you said.
She'll probably see this at some point and flip me off. I don't know.
Yeah, all will be well.
Yeah, so probably the worst thing. Everybody's hassling me. I went on CRS's show and said if I get 3,000 subs, I'm going to shoot an AK underwater in my pool. And I got to. That's on my hit list. I got to get that done. A lot of people are pressuring me about that, and I'm like, just don't tell my wife. You know, she'll lose her mind. So I was doing a live stream, and she was at the supermarket watching my live stream. You know, I guess she got notice. And it's like she came in late. I'm like, okay, guys, don't mention in the chat what we talked about earlier. She's like, you're just goofing with me. I'm like, yes, I am. So,
Yes, ma'am. For my own safety, yes, I am.
so she watched the CRS show, and where we talked about it, she's like, "Oh, well, you hit 3,000, you got to shoot an AK underwater." Oh, actually, so something else happened on the live stream, because she was hassling me about all the time I spend on doing shows on the internet, and then somebody gave me a $20 super chat, and she's like, all of a sudden that was it. I was like, "Oh, okay." So she got kind of excited about that. Then she watched the CRS show, and I hit 3,000 during the show. And she's like, "Well, I guess you got to shoot an AK in the pool, and we'll be patching the wall of the pool." I'm like, "Yeah, it doesn't work like that."
Yeah.
So she was on board with it. She's like, "Oh, well, you got to take care of that." And I'm like, "So yeah, I got to get
She's
that
on
done."
board with it.
What's that?
At least she's on board with it.
Yeah. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's always important.
Yeah,
2AEDU saying he doesn't look like Chuck from Alaska Ballistics.
yeah.
I don't know. They look like twins. It's like salt and pepper shakers,
They're totally identical, but separate at the same time. Yeah, because I was going to ask you when you first did that post if it was for the house that you live in or the house that you're selling.
Oh, good point. Because Demolition Matt, I think Demolition Rat. Why can I say that right? Demolition Ranch Matt.
Mm-hmm.
I think he shot the 50 cal in the house he was selling, like
Right.
the first house he had. So I think that's how he got away with it.
Yep. You'd be like, "Well, I fired it indoors."
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And then the house on the hill, he shot the 50 cal, which I'll tell you what I'm shocked at. There are a number of reasons I would never buy that house. First off, it has like 25 acres, but it's all on the side of a hill.
Yeah.
There's almost no usable acreage on that house. The other thing is any idiot with Google Maps can find out where that house is in a few minutes. So, good luck on fences and security cameras. I mean, everybody knows you got guns, so I guess that's okay.
I was going to say, I'm sure you could reach out and touch them.
And the floor plan on that house was not. It really was too narrow, front to back, and long. So you're going to be losing a lot of usable space on hallway. So the floor plan on that was a bulldoze. Definitely bulldoze that place and start from scratch. There was nothing useful, and it ended up. I watched a lot of his video on building that house, but I'm like, not a lot of useful house there.
Yeah.
In the end,
it's ginormous, but there's not a lot to use in it.
But nobody wants a house that narrow and long. It doesn't. You're losing a lot of usable space. Again, who knows? Matt's probably rolling in dough and he doesn't care.
Well, if you turn each hallway into a lane of a shooting range, then you have usable space.
Right.
And who says that he's actually living there? Maybe there's a ginormous, sweet bunker underground.
Well, he did put a bunker underground there.
Yeah, but maybe bigger than what we're thinking.
Yeah.
I got a little bunker for my family.
And don't get me wrong, the view from that place has got to be crazy great.
Absolutely.
I definitely couldn't afford it.
Horizon Sunset has to be nice there as well.
Oh, yeah. Or one of my buddies in Long Island, he bought a house on the north shore of Long Island, right next to the Shoreham nuclear plant. And his house is the furthest north of all the houses, so he sees the sunrise and sunset. It's just fantastic. And he got a phenomenal deal. I think the lady that had it just wanted to sell it to a nice guy, and she sold it to him for a song.
Nice.
And if the power plant ever fucks up, you get an extra sunrise out of the mix. So
yeah. They deactivated that 20, 30 years ago.
Oh, well, less fun.
Yeah. Well, it's not Chernobyl, but I guess I'll live here.
So, let's see. I'm looking for my flip-flops. My tactical flip-flops here.
I need some of those under my desk. Actually, I think I'm slacking.
Yeah, because I'm going to go for a walk around here. We'll take a look at the pool. How's that?
Alrighty. Yeah, let's check out the side of the future amazing video.
Yeah. So, well, my wife set a spot for me to eat.
Yeah.
He loves you.
So, don't look at the tiki hut that's falling apart. So, I got to get the heat pump fixed for the hot tub, but that's the pool there.
Nice.
There we go.
Yeah, don't look at the tiki hut. There it is. That's falling apart.
I just thought you had a great time last weekend. I didn't think it was falling apart. Right?
Yeah, I guess the people that we're the third people in this house, so I guess the first people that own the house were kind of party animals.
Nice.
Because I think this was more set up like to hang out and party. But
well, I think an AK will look really good in that pool.
what the hell? So the pool area is screened in, and a mosquito just whizzed by. So that's
Oof.
a little unusual.
Nice screened in pool area.
So I don't. Let's see. Can you see? I got banana plants right there.
Nice.
This is one of the cool. So I did volunteer work, cleaning up after one of the hurricanes in the Keys, and I'm kind of a cactus geek. And
cactus are cool.
I got a part where is it? Right there. That's a semaphore cactus. It's flat.
Wow.
I don't know can you see that?
Yeah.
That's just way cool. And
way cool. Just don't
I'll show you
that after the poll and trip. I mean, I know it's out the screen, but
the smaller ones, let's see, look like that.
Oh, so that's a pretty big one you got going on back there then.
Oh yeah. Well, it's actually the original one. Let's see. The original one was this piece right here, and I broke pieces off, and that was one of the pieces I broke off. So really? A lot of times
how long did it take?
A couple of years. No,
nice.
2 or 3 years. See, I'm thinking like DLD After Dark. They do a lot of like survival type stuff and self-sufficient. So I do have like a lemon tree here, which I guess if anybody has liquor, I can work out a deal with them for margaritas.
Okay.
And I got the dragon fruit going on and bananas.
Yeah, I mean, so rum is good with all that too,
Yep.
So man, yeah. We'll just load the vehicle with ammo, some firearms, and alcohol.
There you go. Yeah, what are you doing next weekend?
Yeah, I dropped out. I didn't realize I went on Wi-Fi because for some reason I usually do this on my phone and cellular data. And something happened on the last. I was on John Crump's show with Hank, and it just didn't. It looks like it's squawking at me right now about the data.
It's a bully. It's yelling at you.
Yeah. I got a mesh network on the house, but I don't know how good it is right about here.
Well, I mean the view is beautiful.
Yeah. It's looks real cool. Yeah. So I plan on putting a range in. I got 1.25 acres, so back there I plan on putting a range in.
Nice.
So
not in the hallway?
No, not in the hallway. So the house is kind of, let's see, yeah. You don't get an idea of what the house looks like. The house is kind of like square with a corner cut off. That's where the pool is, this area.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean we're in Palm Beach, Florida. It's beautiful here.
Yeah, it must be horrible for you.
Yeah, well, it's been raining, so like usually when it rains, you get some mosquitoes going on, but.
Yeah, but also you never have to shovel.
Oh yeah, that too. Jesus Christ! Well, when I was at the house in New York, I had to shovel. I was there in February. There were a couple of times I had to shovel.
Yeah. So right now we've had plenty of rain here in Ohio, so we have plenty of mosquitoes right now as well.
Oh yeah. That's like I would go out and walk around and show you a little bit more of the yard, but I mean, if I got mosquitoes in here that's screened in, I don't want to go out there.
Yeah, I don't blame.
Understandable. Yeah. I would hide inside
But,
also. I've been hiding inside from the sun a bit. I mean, it's not too hot, I suppose, but
I gotta hide the shelf. Let's see if all right, that's it right there. That hides my big head hides the shelf with pool stuff. When I do that. Otherwise, you see the shelf there.
You got all the angles figured out.
So, Carolina Custom Foam is going to be on the Who Moved My Freedom podcast, which just started now.
Nice.
Yeah, we had Hank on. He didn't know who was going to be on the show tonight.
Well, it's good to stay informed.
Do you guys do like a 1 hour show usually? How long is your show run?
Anywhere between an hour and an hour and a half. So,
yeah.
Okie doke. Because we actually chatted in between, and you said you wanted to hear the ghost story.
Absolutely.
Yes. So,
okay.
You need to hear the ghost story, and please fill us in.
All right. So, just straight off the bat, I don't believe in ghosts. Not part of what I believe in, period. I have a ghost story that's 100% true from my family. So this is going back to, I guess, like 1976. And my family has two houses. So the house I own now in New York, my great-grandfather built. And the house that we're living in at the time, my great-great-grandfather built. Then they're next door to each other. My grandmother was living in the house that I own now, and she passed in 1976. And before she died, she fell and broke her right wrist. And before this event happened, my dad was a fireman. He fell off the back of the truck and he broke his right wrist, and his arm was in a cast. They didn't know where a bank book was for my grandmother. And my dad had a dream that the arm with the cast pulled him out of bed and basically, led him down the hallway, down the stairs to the house next door, up the porch, in the door, through the living room, up the stairs into the master bedroom, kind of went along the ceiling, down the wall, and pointed at the corner of the cedar chest under the foot. And my dad dreamt this. My mom had thought she heard him walking, and he wasn't. And he said, I know where it is, and she knew what he was talking about. The next day, they go to that corner of the cedar chest in the master bedroom and find the bank book.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Grandma knew where she left it or where it was and let him know.
Exactly there. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So just kind of a odd ghost story. I don't believe in ghosts. I don't,
Don't.
No, there is one more ghost story about that house. That's the house I own now. Is when my grandmother passed, my dad renovated it and he rented it out. And the tenants said there's ghosts in the house. And he said, if there's more than one family living in the house, I have to raise the rent.
That's perfect. Yep.
That's awesome. Swamp Dog says he has a good ghost story to tell us too. Hopefully we'll catch a glimpse of that. I believe Swamp Dog's coming on to chat with us on the 25th. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, not too much further. And all the ghost stories. I'm not very much a believer in ghosts myself, but I love ghost stories. Do you have any good ghost stories to share, Pops?
I have several ghost stories. So the one house that we lived in before you were born, there was a ghost in there. It was an older gentleman that would torment your sister while she was sleeping. So she'd wake up screaming and crying, and I'd run in, and the sheets were off of the bed and across the room. Well, I know a 3-year-old didn't grab the sheet and the comforter and everything off the bed and drag it across the room, and then Her socks were also off in different spots, and she was just crying and screaming that to leave me alone. And I'm, what's the matter? I asked her what's the matter, and she said he keeps taking my socks. He won't leave me alone. So there's several little ghost stories from that. When I was stationed in Virginia, Yorktown, Virginia, there's a lot of ghost stories from that base. So, military record, if you write something in the logbook, you're saying, hey, this actually happened. And there's a lot of journal entries of ghost happenings. One thing that would happen periodically was they would talk about the phone ringing, but no one's ever there, right? And it wasn't like someone can call from outside. It's like the bat phone. You pick up the phone and it would automatically ring to one of the other posts, and they would either transfer the call or you pick it up and you dial the other post, right? It wasn't a phone that other people could call from. So sometimes the phone would ring and you pick it up and then you'd hear it ring because now you're calling the other people and they're answering it saying, what do you want? And you're like, well, you just called me. And they're like, no, you didn't. Right. So little tricky things like that. And the one night I was telling some ghost stories of little things that happened. Like one of our sergeants, he was driving the perimeter of the compound that we were guarding, and he saw someone jogging up ahead. I was like, okay, when one of the Marines are out for an evening run, which isn't that odd, and we're allowed to run in a certain area. So he speeds up to catch up to see which one of his hard-charging devil dogs is running, and the person picked up speed even more. So he picked up speed and be like, what the hell? I know they can't run this fast for that long. And he's doing like 35 or 40. He's like, what the heck? And whoever it was button hooked and just ran through all the fences around the compound. And those fences have vibration sensors and motion sensors and things like that on them. Well, all of them went into alarm at that point in time.
Wow.
So then
that's messed up.
It is totally messed up. So he comes back around and he comes walking in, and you couldn't have any flame producing devices, no lighters, no matches or anything. He comes walking in. Now you could smoke on post, and they had little lighters on the wall, like a toaster. You press a button and the thing would get hot, and then you can.
Okay.
But he comes in white, and they're like, what's the matter? He's puts a cigarette in his mouth, smokes a cigarette, and he's just sitting there. He's like, who was out there? I'm like, nobody was out there. What are you talking about? And he's like, well, this is just what happened. And like, and this isn't a liar, right? The guy is not a liar in any way, shape, or form, and he looks scared. And he was one of those guys, one of the sergeants, when you first get there, would punch you in the chest and bend your dog tags, just like, hey, bam, welcome aboard. And you're like, oh, nice to be here. So tough guy, scared to death. There's multiple other stories, and we can have a whole show on that at some point. But
there we go.
I believe there's a lot of weird stuff out there. Now, is it a ghost for sure, or is it different times, different, right? Dimensions or whatever. I don't know what it is, but I know there's some freaky stuff out there.
Well, I can't wait to have a ghost-themed episode in its entirety because I love those kinds of stories, especially intertwining the whole military situation in with that. And, alarms ringing on fences and things. That's phenomenal.
Yes. And I have several of those situations. So we'll talk about it at some point.
Yeah, we'll compile a whole deep dive on that.
Nice.
Rich, as we're approaching our little intermediate time here, we're usually in the episode. One thing I like to ask people is if there's anything that we haven't asked about you that you would like for our audience to know.
That I would like, or the audience would like?
Well, anything you would like to share that we didn't ask of you.
Yeah, something that people don't, typically know about you that you want to share. Like I didn't know you had a banana tree, right?
Banana tree and dragon fruit and kind of a cactus passion.
Nice.
So, I'll do an odd YouTube channel. There's two YouTube channels I really enjoy that aren't guns or cars or planes. There's a rabbit running across my yard. So I got to get a 22 with a silencer. I'll never go hungry.
Lengthens.
Right? A couple of snares out there.
Yeah. I'll never go hungry. Let's see. The one that I enjoy is the Craftsman, and I think I shared that with Swamp Dog because we're wondering, he's got a Cajun accent and just about his dialect and how he speaks. And the other is Cajun Craftastrophe. So both guys do some interesting. Cajun Craftastrophe is more of a animation channel, and the Craftsman, I think he does props for TV and movies and stuff like that, and does his own channel. It's a little more like how he build it kind of thing, how to build a prop. So just want to share those two unusual. I'll give you my favorite car fab channel. My favorite car fab channel is Bad Obsession Motorsports in England. They are brilliant, those guys. I'm just shocked. Yeah. I used to work at an automotive machine shop, and I'm not a welder or whatever. Like if I did a welder, it'd be like any first-time welder doing a weld. But I know how to work milling machines, and I would bore cylinders and do head jobs, and I didn't say that right. Rebuild heads, all the machine work for that. So you're like, oh, he's demonetizing us for sure.
No, that's awesome.
We don't ever expect monetization. Don't worry what you say.
No, but we do accept beer.
Yeah, I'm happy to drink a couple beers with you.
That'd be great.
Next time we meet up, we should do that.
Absolutely.
Schedule that in the mix. Let's see. What can I tell you? I used to have Porsches, but I would have the poor man's Porsche. So I had a 1980 924 Turbo, not a 1989, but a 1980 924 Turbo. It had the same wheels and brakes as a 928. So it had the dish rims and what they called the big 928 brakes, which would be smaller than a Volkswagen Jetta would have today. So yeah, I'm kind of a Porsche-phile. I love Porsches. And I was hoping that I would sell the house. I'm also passionate about Audi R8s. I'd love to get an Audi R8. So I was thinking maybe I'd be able to sell the house, get a first-gen R8 after the bills are paid and all that bit. I have, some toy money. But they substantially increased in price.
Well, maybe you can find someone that will trade you one for the house.
Yeah. I don't want to trade for a house. Right. Swampy says he had an 88 944.
Nice.
Yeah, the 89 944 Turbo S was something I was jonesing for when I was in the Porsche Club in New York. And we did track events. So I've driven Lime Rock, Bridgehampton, and Watkins Glen with the Porsche Club. And I really wish I had, at that time, the 944 Turbo S, which the Genesis Coupe that I have, I've got the 2015 Ultimate with a 6-speed. That has the same performance numbers, 0 to 60 quarter mile, etc., as the 1989 944 Turbo S. But of course, since it's a fatter car, it's got to have 100 more horsepower to do that.
Yeah. See, I thought you were going to say it was equal to the Dodge Grand Caravan.
Yeah.
That's my baby.
Yeah.
Got about 30 horsepower under the hood. Sweet.
Yeah, the 924 Turbo European version, I think, had 175 horsepower, and I think in the US we're lucky to get 135 out of it.
Yeah.
So you're pretty much economy car mom with that thing by today's standards.
Yeah, but at the time.
Oh,
right?
at the time.
Exactly.
At the time.
Yeah, and that car, I think it topped out at like 135 miles an hour. It was like you need a lot of road in Mexico to be able to do that. You couldn't do that in the United States.
No.
And I would never I'd hit like 125 like at the back straight at Watkins Glen, but I would never hit top speed on a racetrack because there just wasn't enough straight.
Yeah. Fastest I ever got pulled over doing, caught, was 92. The state trooper gets out, North Carolina state trooper. He gets out and he's just sharp. Solid. You could cut your fingers on his sleeves, right? I mean, he is built. He is huge. He walks up to the vehicle and he's like, I pulled you over? Like, assume perhaps I was speeding, sir? And he was like, you're doing 92 and a 65. I'm like, really? This is a 92 Chevy Cavalier. I didn't know it went that fast. He's like, step out of the car. I'm like, I'm not being a jerk. I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah.
So apparently that Chevy Cavalier, I was just having a good time on the highway. Now, it was like in the morning, no one else was around, but he was rather mad at me.
So the fastest I ever got a ticket for, I don't know if they wrote a speed on that. I was going out on Sunrise Highway. This is many years ago. And I was in the 924 Turbo, and it was a Monday. So nobody's going out to the Hamptons on a Monday on Sunrise Highway.
Yeah.
And I was doing 115, 120 most of the way. And I took the exit. It's like, 40 mile an hour exit. I think I took it at like 70. And right then I see the cop. I'm like, oh crap, I'm 30 over the limit on the exit. I know I took it at 70, 75, and it said 40. I'm like, he's like, I was following you for 20 miles. I'm like, he's like, I couldn't keep up with you. I'm like, uh-oh. Here I am. I think I'm getting busted.
Yeah.
So I think he wrote the ticket for 95.
He cut you a break.
Yeah, I did get cut a break.
Really?
I did get a ticket recently. I think he wrote me for 90 something.
Yeah, because
and I was slowing down at that point.
He had told me, he's like, well, you need to step out of the vehicle because I'm going to take you to jail. I'm like, take me to jail? He's like, yeah, you're doing 30 over. I said, I thought you told me I was doing 92 and a 65. He looked at me with a lot of anger. I was like, I'm not trying, but 3,000, there is a difference there. So 92 and a 65 is not 30 over. So I'll finish that story at another time. But yeah, it was an interesting evening.
So the Genesis is speed limited, and horsepower and design wise, it probably should do like 160, 165 if there was no limitation on it. But it's speed limited to 143 miles an hour.
Nice. That's a nice cruising speed.
Yeah, and it gets there real fast.
Yeah, you just kind of lean back because you can't sit forward.
Probably the best ride I ever had was Bridgehampton Racetrack. Somebody had a roof turbo, so one of the original Lewis roof turbos, and I forgot there were like actually very few made, and I've seen recent videos on it. I didn't realize how rare the car was, but the car had a full roll cage, 5-point harness, racing seats, like wraparound bucket racing seats.
Yeah.
And I had that thing cinched up so bad. I was getting thrown so violently around the cockpit. It was like, you just put an egg in a mayonnaise jar and shook it. That car accelerated, braked, cornered like nothing on God's green earth. Probably compared to now, I think like at the time a 911 Turbo was like 300 horsepower, and this thing was like 450. But with everything upgraded, absolutely everything. It was just unbelievable car on the racetrack.
Wow.
I'd like to get a taste of that. Yeah. We're gonna have to find a racetrack, get some free rides or something.
Oh yeah. You gotta join the Porsche Club. That was the Metro New York Porsche Club.
Okay. Well, onto the to-do list that goes.
So yeah, cars are a bit of a passion. So I've been thinking about doing a automotive / vehicle channel, and I really want to do like a giveaway, build a car and give it away to somebody in need. That's what I'm looking to do. So I'm hoping maybe I can take a week off, get together with my buddy in New York, and he's an engine builder, so pick up a car, build a car, and then do some sort of charity donation.
That's awesome. That gets you some fun doing the things that you like, right?
Oh yeah.
And creating and refurbishing and everything, and then the love that you have for other people and the respect that you have for other people, you get to share that and help someone in need. That is awesome.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. It's I don't want to say I've been poor or any. It's never missed a meal, never went hungry, none of that. Never had the lights turned off. But I've driven my fair share of crap cars held together with spit and baling wire. So the girl that we have, I'll tell the trainer story. So my wife has this girl come to the house twice a week, and she does, why can't I say physical training? So we work out. She's our fitness instructor, and so I had to pick her up yesterday. She broke down on the side of the road, and she's apologizing. I'm like, really? Do you think I've never experienced that?
Right.
Do you really think that's never been me? I mean, I didn't learn how to fix cars because I kind of wanted to, but it was really a necessity.
Yeah.
So, because even my Envoy, I first off, I don't like other people working on my cars, period. So my 2007 Envoy that I drove to New York, I've had 3 people work on the car since I've owned it. One was I was out of town and needed an ABS sensor. The other time was just when I was up in New York. It had the original plugs in it at 175,000 miles. So I had my buddy, the machinist, change the plugs because if they were, bimetallically corroded into the aluminum head, I wanted somebody that knew how to remove them and fix them. And I thought the alternator bearing was bad, but the noise was actually the AC compressor. So I had to have another shop do the AC on it, and that was like $1,100. So I've been lucky as far as maintenance on the car. Everything's been cheap, and I've done everything but those 3 items myself on the car.
Nice. Yeah, because you had said in the last time we spoke, you said that you're driving to New York thinking, wow, I got so many miles on it and everything's still working.
Yep. Yeah. Same refrigerant, same compressor, and through New Jersey.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Of course, it had to be New Jersey.
Well, I was at night going through Jersey, and the first week I was there was actually cool. So I just rode around with the windows down. It wasn't bad, And again, I knew I had to get it fixed before I got back to Florida because the drive down would have roasted me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you would have been having fun on the drive home.
Yep.
And you would have had that one arm so tan.
Yeah. I am definitely an air conditioned sissy now. Most of my life I didn't have air conditioning in the house or the car or anything. And
you're allowed to be now.
Yeah. So I know what it's like to have. The joke is, so when I got the Envoy December 2007. It was a 2007 model year. It had 15,000 miles on. I think it was a lease or something. So at 26 grand, that was worth more than all of the other cars I owned in my life added up together times 2. Probably 2.5. So yeah, I know what it's like to drive crappy cars.
Something that you're not sure if you're going to be able to make it all the way there. But if you do make it all the way there, am I going to be able to make it all the way back? I probably won't make it all the way back. If I do make it there,
yeah. So. Yeah, I was actually afraid to go away to college because I'm like, what if my car breaks down? I can't have all my tools with me, can I?
Right. That's another nice reason for a van for me. I've had a few vans that weren't so good. So, driving in the winter with the window that will not go up, so you got duct tape, so it's like, all right, I'll pull it, I'll change the motor.
Right.
Oh, you really can't get to it. All right, I'll deal with it later.
Yeah, snub nose vans aren't so kind to work on.
No.
A lot of digging.
Yeah. Pull the dog house out and then get your hand down in there while you get, it's not so much fun, but they are awesome vehicles.
Well, Rich, I definitely look forward to your venture into the automotive side of YouTube. I do very much hope to see that. Your little project car idea sounds like an awesome thing to follow, and
I look forward to seeing how that turns out and who gets it and everything.
Yeah, so we're very much supporting you on that front. It's approaching the time that I have to go take care of some things before I wake up at 6 a.m. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this great time to a close. Very much appreciate you coming on to make up for our connectivity issues. It was nice actually being able to hear you and have a little bit of a conversation. So, and looking forward to the next time. I know we'll have Swamp Dog on here in 2 weeks. This coming Sunday, we have Black Diamond Guns and Gear coming on. So,
cool.
Yeah, we welcome
both of them or one of them.
All the Joshes.
All 4 Joshes.
I've lost count
because there's 4 Joshes.
Yeah, I think it's mandatory that either you change your name to be part of them or apply unless
there's
Josh.
There's 4 Joshes. Yep. Josh actually has a stepbrother named Josh, and then there's a cousin Josh.
Well, if they're not bringing them along, then I'm going to have a very stern talking to with them. I'm expecting all of the Joshes to be there.
We're going to have a bunch of little screens all over it. It's going to look like the Brady Bunch.
You weren't hanging out drinking with us when all the Joshes were there?
At the steak place there for a second? Jay Peters?
I don't think that's where we were.
Oh. Maybe another. There's a lot of
What hotel did you stay at?
Yes.
The Hilton, right next to Jay Peters.
Was the Hilton? Because I think Crump stayed at the Hilton. Was that the Hilton?
Hilton or Hatfield or Hampton or
Hampton Inn. There was the Hampton Inn, I think.
Yeah, Hampton. I think Josh and Josh were in. I think we're in the Hilton across the street next to JP.
So we stayed. My crew stayed at the Super 8, and there were many unlicensed pharmacists getting arrested at that place.
Yes, yeah. You guys were a stone's throw from us.
A stone throw.
Yes. We were
a stoned throw.
Yeah, they were throwing some stoned individuals in the back of the cruiser too. So
it's great. Yeah, it got very confusing, and Josh would walk out with beer and give a beer to a Josh, and Josh would say thanks, Josh, and Josh would be like, no, the other Josh, and so
we were just safe at that point just to say thanks, Josh. because
Right.
1 and 4 are going to appreciate it.
Well, I was looking forward. So Richard Monder was supposed to come over for NRAM, and Josh and Josh were going to be there. So I was looking forward to me and Richard Monder greeting Josh and Josh. I just thought that would be funny.
Yeah.
But I kind of made up for it because I brought 2 Chris's with me.
That works out, right? I mean, that's fair. If you can't say hi,
Well, did you stay? Did you stay for the tasering at Iraq Veteran?
Unfortunately, we left just before.
We out probably about half an hour at most. We probably missed it by like 20 minutes or whatever.
I did do a tasering video, so that's on my channel.
Nice.
I gotta go look that up.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
watching a lot of the gun tube recently, and all you fellas. I've been falling asleep to weird, fall asleep kind of YouTube, and not actually keeping my mind open on things. But
yeah, the taser video is fun. I had a good time making it. I think you guys will enjoy it.
Is it on the FlyingRich?
Yeah, if you go to youtube.com/FlyingRich.
Okay.
You'll see who got tased at Iraq Veteran.
Perfect. Well, we're going to check that out. All of you guys, be sure you check out FlyingRich. Is it FlyingRich Official or just FlyingRich? I can't recall.
So YouTube is FlyingRich. Somebody on Instagram got FlyingRich, so I'm FlyingRich_official.
Okay, perfect. I get everybody's names mixed up all the time. So be sure to check that out. Rich, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you in the comments and hopefully coming on again with us to talk in the future. Everybody, you can catch us here live at 4 p.m. on Sunday with the Joshes, some of the Joshes, probably not all the Joshes, of Black Diamond Guns and Gear. And then our dear friend Swamp Dog, that is the commenting champion of the evening, will be joining us on the 25th to have a great conversation. And everybody, keep your eyes on the moon. Have a phenomenal week and stay safe.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks.
Enjoy.